Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those that are new, welcome. My name is Anne, I'm a Coaching Coins founder. And for today, we're going to talk about relationship with money, especially with two pharmacists. I just want to let you guys know that, we're not financial advisors and we're not credentialed to be one, but we just want to share our journey with you guys regarding our, especially with Sophia, as she has some interesting insight on financial, and I really want her to share that piece. So just take it as things that we learned throughout our journeys these past few years being a pharmacist, and hope that will help you guys. But any true financial sound advice, please make sure you seek a true financial advisors. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and have Sophia introduce herself and just kind of briefly mention your journey, how you start getting interested in having a healthy relationship with money.
Hi, my name is Sophia, and as Anne mentioned, I'm a pharmacist and recently started investing in real estate as well. And my financial journey, or my interest in finances, actually started at a really young age when my family kind of grew up in conditions where I realized that when I grow up, I don't want to be like my parents. So my goal was to go to school, get a good job, make a good income, and help my parents out.
So when you finish pharmacy school, what are some things that you've learned along the way financially that help you now?
So I pretty much didn't get any information on how to manage my finances in school. So it was a lot of Googling and just reading books. And I decided to first tackle my debt. So my priorities were kind of first cut down on my debt, because I had a lot of debt. I think almost close to $100,000 in debt. So I wanted to tackle that first, and then maximize my retirement savings. So my Roth my Roth IRA and also my 401k, I tried to contribute at least just enough to get a company match. And then I wanted to build my savings. So I kind of just looked at the bigger picture. First of all, trying to get out of the negative. So the debt was the highest priority. I looked at what had the highest interest rate, and I started to put more money towards paying off that debt first. And I think it was maybe the next year. So after I graduated, I was lucky enough to get a job right away. So that was like in the middle of the year. So first I spent a lot of time just kind of putting money into that debt and just kind of dwindling that down as much as possible. And then the following year, I started to focus on maximizing what I could through my retirement accounts. So that would be the Roth IRA and also contributing to my 401k.
And then with that, how did you? Oh, one thing before I ask her a question, I just want to chime in is that there's different way of paying off student loans, and there's a snowball effect, But I think there's two school of thoughts where people who pay like on the lower interest rate, or the lowest amount of that loan, just to make you feel better that you finish that loan out. But there are folks that pay or look at the highest interest rate first and pay that off. Economically and financially, that makes more sense. But I know if it's like a $60,000 loan, you're like, I'm not making a dent, versus if it's a $1,000, I can just pay that off. It makes me feel better. So there's some psychological aspect to it too. But the goal, and what Sophia mentioned, is that as long as you have a goal towards minimizing your debt as much as you can, like the student loan, that helps, right? So from that perspective, so I really like that you max out or try to contribute to a retirement fund and your Roth IRA. What are some books that you read just to kind of help you get started on having this healthy relationship with money?
So first of all, I did start talking to a financial advisor. I didn't end up using a financial advisor, but I did start having that conversation just to get an idea of what my goals were and get a better idea of the terminology and what all was available to me out there. I also studied some books from Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you've heard of him, but I believe he's the one that talks about the snowball effect. And he also has some seminars as well, on just some strategies to tackle debt.
Yeah, and then Dave Ramsey also have a YouTube channel. You can listen and also have folks comes in. The other book I'm actually reading right now is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll put a link towards that. And then I've just been reading a lot of financial books that just help. The Millionaire Next Door, which is one of the older books, but it's very interesting to kind of see the perspective of the millionaire and how they manage their money. So all these are really good resources, and honestly, I didn't know about it since after I graduated from pharmacy school. And then how did you start, kind of have your priorities from debt versus retirement, and then what was the thing that got you to investing?
Okay, so for debt and retirement, that was kind of almost simultaneous. At first, it was debt, just trying to get a big chunk out into what I was more comfortable with, and then I started focusing on retirement. And then I started to research. Actually, savings is the next thing. Before you even think about investing, I tried to have a good amount of savings. I believe there's a lot of recommendations for having 3 months worth of living expenses saved up in your savings, and that's what I did. And then once I got to that point, everything else I started to look into what I can invest in. And just from Googling, I knew I wasn't very financially savvy, and from what I Googled, I saw that Warren Buffett had some advice for the average Joe to invest in index funds. Index funds, you're more passive. You don't have to pay someone to actively manage different individual stocks, and it just follows the S&P 500. And it was just a more of a passive way to invest, and you can invest in something like Vanguard where the fees are very low compared to other investment companies. So that's what I started with. I just put cash in there and just kind of watched over time to see what would happen. And that's where I started. And then once that started growing, I think I did that for a couple years, and I liked the results that I was seeing. And then I started to build up enough cash to be interested in other areas. And of course, everyone talks about investing in real estate. So I started talking to my friends who are all already doing real estate. I have a friend who is in single family and new development. He actually developed some homes, and then he started investing in multifamily. So I just started talking to him and having that conversation and seeing what would be a good fit for me.
And how can you kind of describe your journey in that real estate investing? Again, what kind of books or resources that help you kind of get more comfortable?
Yes, so I actually started talking to my friend, having that conversation, and I pursued just having a seminar or a training program to actually walk me through everything step by step. I actually started by doing a few weekend Rich Dad Poor Dad seminars. He had some 3-day weekend introduction seminars that you can attend, and that was in single family homes. So I did that, and then I did, I believe, the next level where you can do a more advanced course. And then I also signed up for a program for multifamily. And actually, I really liked the multifamily program. It was pretty comprehensive. So I got coaching, I got a mentor. I had extensive programs and trainings and certifications that I could do through that program. And I ended up expanding my network and meeting people and partners who were already doing what I was interested in. So I partnered up with them and just kind of learned through the experience. So I was able to invest some of my own money into the deal and and join them on their site visits and their meetings with the property manager. So I've just been learning and most importantly surrounding myself with mentors and people who are already in the field out there doing these deals. So I'm kind of learning as I go.
So for those that are interested to start get into investing and especially real estate investing, what are some advice you would give to them?
So my advice is if you want to be in real estate, you definitely need to have either money or experience and knowledge, or have the connections to people who do, and surround yourself with those people. Maybe try to shadow them or do a non-paid internship with them, which is like some of the things that I started to get into the field. And just pay for a traditional education if you can, and just do that on the side with whatever you're doing. Or if you want to do it full time, you can do it full time as well.
It sounds like you spend a lot of time on, this side of real estate investing. How did you kind of balance that with your full-time job?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay. How do you balance a full-time job with what you're doing in real estate investing?
So initially it was challenging. You kind of have to treat it like a job as well. So I would schedule an actual block of time to work on whatever I need to work on real estate related, just like it was a job, starting from this like 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, or however long I wanted to do that day. So on my days off, I would schedule it just like it's a shift and just do the training I needed, or make the phone calls I needed to make, do the research that I needed to do on my computer.
What are some, without getting too specific, but what are some things that resources wise that you feel like will be helpful for those that just want to dabble into real estate and learn more about it, but not necessarily want to spend, money to pay for the actual training program, the whole comprehensive?
Definitely just listen to audiobooks or read if you prefer reading, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, as you mentioned, Multifamily Millions by Dave Lindahl. There's lots of real estate books out there where you can start to learn about this stuff, learn about the terminology, and there's actually many real estate networking events. There's so many in our area that you can probably find one every single week, or maybe twice a week, that you can attend and just start having conversations with people who are already in the field.
And then how much money do you think, and I think it all dependent on where the investing goes, right? Single home family versus multi versus a bigger business, but what would be a comfortable financial level that whoever is interested should start kind of thinking about real estate investing? What is a benchmark to start out?
Okay, so there's different ways to structure deals. Like, for example, if you want to do single family, you can actually partner with people, and they might take, it depends on the person too. They might take 10,000, 5,000, but you can partner with a few other people so that it collectively is enough to invest in a deal. In multifamily, it's typically about 50,000 and up, maybe sometimes 25,000. Or if you partner with someone, you might be able to combine the amount so that you can invest in that deal. But the most important thing that I would say is, if you're going to invest in something, make sure you do your research, and also make sure that if you're investing that money, you're okay with losing all of it. Like, if you're not at that point, then I wouldn't recommend investing. Of course, I wouldn't invest if you thought you were going to lose all that money, but just have that mindset. Like, if you're not to that point where you might lose that money and it won't cause like a lot of suffering or hardships, then you can invest. But if it's going to cause some hardships, you might not be able to eat for the next month or so, then please don't invest.
Yeah, and that's what we're kind of talked about briefly in terms of know your priorities, pay down your debt, whether it's student loan or whatever loan that you have. think about retirement, have a 3 to 6 months, if you're liberal, 3 to 6 months of expenses paid for if something truly bad happened or emergency thing happened. That's why it's called emergency fund. And then when you have all those kind of level out, investing would be the next thing, or you can do it simultaneously, but maybe not as big as real estate investing where it requires a large sum of money. You could do like simultaneously achieve all those goals that you set out, but also invest. But what Sophia was mentioning, like index fund or ETF, just from a stock market standpoint, whereas it's lower risk and you may not need thousands of dollars. You can just have $100 each month and to go toward that investing, versus carved out a large amount of money to go towards real estate. But it's never too late to learn. You can always dabble, and like I said, that's why there are a lot of books out there that if you're interested in real estate investing, that is a way to do it. What are some lessons learned as you going through this journey with investing, from that standpoint? What are some challenges that you face and lessons learned?
Some challenges that I've faced. So when you invest, there is a risk component to it. So when I first started in multifamily, we did lose some hard money, and we did lose some money in the beginning when we put down our payment for just to start the deal. But that's part of the business, and luckily that was before we actually signed the contract and went forward with the deal. So it's just a matter of educating yourself, surrounding yourself with the right amount of people, and also just being comfortable enough to take some risk and lose a little bit of money. But in the long term, just having your goal set and keeping that in mind, because in the long term, as you keep on doing it, you can reach your goals.
Right. And the big thing that you mentioned too is finding partners and people. Instead of needing 100,000, you have 4 partners. I mean, you only need 25,000, but that means you have to find those that you're truly trusted, because again, you're gonna work with them and your money's on the line. So being able to work with those and building a relationship and truly trust the people that you work with. If you're gonna go solo, kind of like what Sophia was already saying, is that you really truly have to know the nooks and the cracks of everything, and reading the fine prints on contracts, and do your own due diligence by visiting the property, making sure it is the way it's listed on paper, because it's not always the case. Are there any stories that you'd like to share with the group in terms of as you travel through this investing in real estate, that you felt like big moments that you learned throughout the way?
Thankfully, I don't have any major horror stories, but I definitely want to just reiterate what you said about the trust. I realize that working with people in a partnership can be challenging, so it's really, really important to have everything laid out in the beginning and in writing. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I definitely learned that the hard way.
So setting our expectations and get things in writing, because verbally, people can always back out, but in writing with signature and notarized, that's harder to back out. So no, I'm pretty sure you've learned that the hard way. Are there any things that you would like to share with the group before we go into a fun fill in the blank finance?
Yes. So on the flip side of financing and the spending and saving, the saving and investing, all that is managing your spending. A lot of pharmacists, because they have such a huge jump in income, they also spend more. And I had that phase when I started getting my paychecks where I would just buy more stuff. I would order things through Amazon and just have boxes coming in I think every other week or something like that, and just buying more luxury items. And after a while I realized that this was not a productive way to keep spending my money on items that don't have like real value and won't have value in the long run. So it's just important to keep in mind that you want to still live below your means, and also keep your eye on the bigger goal. If you want to be financially free, you have to spend on only things that you need or that really bring you joy. That's what I recommend. And have your money set aside for growth, so that you can actually have your money grow in investments and have it saved for a rainy day.
I can't agree more, and I'm also guilty of it too. I think when you're a student, and then I went through residency and still like get about 50,000 a year. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money from going negative to a positive 50 grand, right? And then when you become a pharmacist, that doubles to like on average about, let's say, $100,000. So it's really crazy understanding how to manage that. And I have to say, I also guilty of that. Like, I got a luxury car and I did it for years, and then I was like, well, what was I thinking? I still have student loan. This is not the way to do it. And I can't agree more about really live below your means, or trying to not further expand your spending just because you have room to grow. Really pretend that you are still making $50,000 a year and save that $50,000 towards whatever else that is important, especially when you're thinking about retirement. I know most students, or even new pharmacists out there, like, retirement, that's like 30, 40 years down the road. I don't think about that, but it's gonna come before you know it, and time is the only thing that you have right now. So investing in compounded interest will be huge in your favor. So really deeply consider that for those who are out there thinking that I have all this money in the world to spend. You don't, especially when it comes to retirement. So with that, I want to end with some fun fill-in-the-blank questions about relationship and money. So I'm going to say a phrase, and then I'm going to ask Sophia to fill it in based on her response. So if I win a lottery today, I will
buy my mom a new house and travel around the world.
Great goals. I would love that too. And then one thing I like to spend on myself that make me happy, or being me, is?
I like to spend money on personal development programs. Like, I just love learning and growing, so that's actually what makes me happy.
And it's true, she does. So we're actually going to do another video. You can check it out next time on leadership development and professional development. And I think that's so important because being financially smart, but you also want to be professionally, develop yourself outside of school, as life is a lifelong journey. So learning never stops after you finish with school. It actually continues and is self-motivated. So stay tuned for our next video on leadership and professional development, as well as personal development. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If there are any questions or comments, please post it below. If there are questions I don't know, I will for sure ask Sophia to answer, because I'm not real estate expert like Sophia is.
I'm not an expert. I'm still learning.
More expert than me, right? So subscribe to my channel for more videos, and like the video, especially if you find this helpful. Please share with your friends. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.